Guys, I'm starting to get a little bit worried for Dricus Still Knox Duplessis. He might actually be cooked this weekend against Hamzat Chimaev. I did my YouTube breakdown and prediction for the main card where I talked about 5 fights on the main card. I don't really go over the prelims often unless the card is just that stacked from top to bottom. And if you watched that video, you would know that I did actually pick Duplessis to win. And I picked him to win by decision, but now I'm actually starting to doubt my pick. The more tape I watched, the more time I started to, actually think about this fight. I'm starting to sense that the other way around just might actually happen. That we might be looking at a new champion in Hamzat Boris Chimaev. All technical breakdowns aside, it's just the vibe I'm getting, man. I just have a bad feeling. I have a bad feeling that this just might go the other way around. Now, my prediction for the fight initially was Dricus Duplessis weathers that early storm. Hamzat does what he does to everyone else, to DDP, in the earlier rounds, right? And then DDP just wins the game of attrition. Starts pulling away in rounds 3, 4, and 5. Doesn't finish Hamzat, but just kind of out-toughs him, outguns him, outdogs him essentially. But Hamzat shows that heart and durability, which could happen. But I was also thinking, what if Hamzat Chimaev just takes down DDP every single round and rides him out to a decision? Like, DDP is that tough and that resilient to where he could survive to the final bell. But what if he just gets rode out and controlled and outgrinded every single round? He survives, but isn't able to win. What if Hamzat wins a dominant decision? And look at these stats. It doesn't help that Dricus Duplessis has 50% takedown defense, okay? 50% takedown defense to Hamzat Chimaev's 100% takedown defense. This will be the second time in his career that he is at a wrestling disadvantage. This will be the best wrestler that Dricus will have ever fought in his entire career. And this will be the first time, or at least maybe the first time since Brunson, where he's fighting a guy where he's not going to be able to dictate wherever the fight goes. That's going to be Hamzat's role. Usually, DDP always has that edge of, I can take you down whenever I want. You got to fear my takedowns, but I could also outbrawl you. You got to also fear these hands as well. But against Chimaev, that's going to be a different story. Really, all Hamzat has to worry about is the power of DDP, the blitzes of DDP. There is no fear of the takedown threat. And on paper, usually that's everyone's chance to beat Hamzat is keep the fight standing, don't get taken down, and outstrike him. Everyone knows what Hamzat wants to do, but literally no one has been able to stop it. And I just don't see Dricus Duplessis going out there and nullifying every takedown of Hamzat Chimaev unless Hamzat is really gassed. But in this fight, Dricus is going to have to worry about the takedowns. And on the feet, I don't think Hamzat is really that outmatched. Now, DDP did show a lot of improvements in his technical striking against Sean Strickland, but I still think the striking is competitive. I would give DDP an advantage with his kicks. He has very good kicks, good calf kicks, good high kicks, which he's never got to finish with a head kick yet, which surprises me because they're so good. I just think maybe it's because he never lands flush with the shin. It always lands with like the tip of the foot. But I think Hamzat actually might have better hands than DDP. I think he has a better jab. I think he's got a better straight cross. His right hand is way more precise. I think his shot placement is actually better than DDP. And Hamzat also has very good kicks as well. Okay? So do not be surprised if he goes out there and actually outstrikes Dricus Duplessis. He has a chance to outstrike him, and we know the wrestling is one-sided. And I want to talk about the cardio too. Because I rewatched the fight with Burns and I rewatched the fight with Usman. Honestly, Chimaev wasn't as dead tired as I remembered. I mean, in round 2, he slowed down a bit against Burns, but then Burns emptied the tank trying to finish him, and then Khamzat had a second win, and Khamzat was pushing a pace in that third round against Gilbert Burns, okay? He was not slowing down at all. I mean, he slowed down in the second, but he got that second win, started coming back, started pouring on the pressure. And I think if that fight had another 2 rounds, Burns did say that someone was going to go down, and I think Burns likely would have got finished in a 5-rounder. So I don't doubt that Khamzat might actually have an ability to fight in an extended 5-round fight. And against Usman, the reason why his output dropped in round 2 and 3 is because he broke his hand. He almost had a standing rear naked choke against Usman, and then Usman dived forward, and Khamzat ended up breaking his hand because Usman's face smashed into Khamzat's wrist against the canvas. So it broke his right hand, and he couldn't really throw with it. He could only throw with his jabs and his kicks, but round 2, he wasn't really that tired. And Usman really didn't do as much as I remember. He was outstriking Usman, Khamzat was, barely, but outpointing him, and then took him down towards the end. So Khamzat clearly won 2 rounds going into the third. And then Usman's output was still relatively low in round 3. Now, he did win the third. He did start to tag Khamzat up, but he didn't beat him up as badly as I remembered. And Khamzat had a good minute in that third round where he had control time. And by the time Usman got back to his feet, he was swinging these big, sloppy hooks, overhand shots, these looping shots that were missing. And Khamzat was still in the pocket swinging back. So he wasn't in as much trouble as I remembered. And if he had 2 hands functioning in that fight against Usman, he might have completely dominated that fight and won even more clearly than what he did when he was compromised. What if Khamzat Chimaev is not injured? What if he doesn't injure his hand going into this fight? Then what? And like I said, DDP, 50% takedown defense. His wrestling is worse than Kamaru Usman. I think he's going to be easier to take down than Usman. And his BJJ is nowhere near as threatening as Burns. Burns, because of how good his jiu-jitsu was, Khamzat didn't want to take much chances on the ground. He respected the ground game of Burns, so he banged it out with him on the feet. I don't think he's going to fear the jiu-jitsu of DDP, and I don't think DDP is going to have the wrestling to put up as much resistance as Usman was able to. And I'm pretty sure Usman got taken down at least 4 times in that fight. But I also wouldn't put it past Khamzat Chimaev to finish Dricus du Plessis. And I want to talk about, hold on, wrong screen or wrong. I'm going to talk about this soon though. But the Brunson fight. Look at this. Derek Brunson easily takes down Dricus du Plessis early. He catches an early kick. He has a dominant position. Now, I got to be careful. I got to keep this paused because I do not want to get copyright struck. And I don't want to have to stop this video part way. But look at this. He's controlling him. What makes you think that Drick or Chimaev is not going to be able to do the same thing but worse? And then right here, so DDP is looking to scramble back up. Hold on a second. I hope I don't skip the part where, okay, he's moving and then he kind of gives up his neck. I think around, let's see. Getting close. Okay. So right here, as he's shrimping, he leaves his neck open for a Darce. Now, Brunson, because his jiu-jitsu is nowhere near as good as Khamzat Chimaev's, when he tried to dive Gilly, he fumbled it, and Dricus ended up on top. But Chimaev has way better submissions than a guy like Derek Brunson, and he's got a better squeeze. And Brunson had the early success that he did with his wrestling, but Brunson is like the black version of Dricus du Plessis. He's just as goofy, he's just as clumsy, but he's less gritty, and his cardio is even worse. But a guy like Chimaev, he is way more composed. than a Derek Brunson, okay? He's better with his control on the ground. His balance is way better, and he's not as clumsy. And I don't think he's going to lose dominant positions looking for submissions the way that Brunson did, okay? That's going to be a key difference. And I do think that Du Plessis is going to need to be careful in how he tries to get back to his feet. And then I want to skip towards the end of the round right here. Let me see. Okay, he gets his back here. Khamzat could finish him in this position, but it's like the very end of the round right here. He gets the back of Dricus Du Plessis, and he almost has him in a chokehold. Okay, he has his neck right here. Do you think he's getting away if that's Khamzat on his back, on his neck? Even if Khamzat does not have the arms under the neck, he can finish that choke from the face crank position, and he could force DDP to tap the way he forced Robert Whittaker to tap with that face crank. Okay, the way DDP submitted Adesanya, that's exactly what Chimaev could do to Dricus Du Plessis. And not to mention, Dricus Du Plessis out here getting out-scrambled and reversed by Darren Till of all people. Hold on. Darren Till is able to reverse Dricus Du Plessis and gain top position. That's just insane. That's just insane to me. And then towards the end of the round, so I think Dricus throws a kick. I hope I don't skip over this. Crap. Hold on. Okay, he catches a kick. And then from there, he gets a takedown. And then once again, when trying to get back to his feet, he finds himself almost getting guillotined. Now, I'm not going to try to perfectly, skip to that frame, that shot where Till has his arms around the neck, but we know that sequence happened. He leaves those openings to get choked out. So do not be surprised if Khamzat Chimaev goes out there and gets like a first round Darce choke. He could get that, or he could get a first round neck crank. But even if he doesn't submit or TKO Du Plessis early, I'm not doubting that he could beat him in the late rounds and ride him out to a decision and kill this whole myth that he just doesn't have the cardio. And then this is what I want to get to, the size difference, okay? Khamzat Chimaev absolutely mogged Du Plessis in their first face-off, meeting face-to-face. He's way taller, he's way bigger, and he's way stronger. Now, you might be saying, well, height doesn't mean anything. Adesanya was taller, Brunson was taller. Yeah, but Khamzat Chimaev is like, look, along with the physical advantages that he has, he's going to have that wrestling, grappling, and strength advantage. That's going to help him. It helps him that not only is he bigger, not only does he have the better wrestling, but that size and that strength is going to help him. It's going to make his wrestling more successful. Okay? So I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, I'm kind of yapping a little bit in this video, but I think DDP might be in trouble. But here's the thing. I don't want to just switch my prediction, because what if I switch to Khamzat and then Du Plessis wins and I look stupid? It's too risky. But then what if I stick to my Du Plessis win and then Khamzat wins and I miss the boat on picking Khamzat Chimaev? I don't know, guys, man. Look, the vibes I'm getting for this fight are the exact same vibes I got for Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley, which was 2 years ago in August and on the third weekend of August. And I picked Aljamain Sterling to win. I picked him to beat O'Malley, but I had a gut feeling Sean was going to pull through and pull the upset. Deep down, I knew it would happen, and I regretted not picking O'Malley to win. And there's parallels between the O'Malley and the Khamzat situation. O'Malley wasn't undefeated. Maybe mentally he was. He had that one loss to Chito, but he was in the UFC for 5 years at that point, okay? And it took him a long time to finally get a shot at UFC gold. And when it was O'Malley's chance to finally live up to and realize his full potential and claim UFC gold and kill this whole hype train narrative, he did that and he became the champion in August 2 years ago. So what if it's the same story that Khamzat Chimaev, after 5 years with the promotion, 5 years with the UFC, finally realizes his full potential and finally becomes the UFC champion? And one more thing I want to point out before I close out this video is 3 of the 4 fighters who debuted on Fight Island. I mean, there's a lot of Fight Island debutantes from 2020, but I'm talking about like the big name prospects like Topuria, Dricus, and Tom Aspinall. 3 of those guys went on to become champion. They started their UFC careers on Fight Island. During the pandemic, they all became champions. Khamzat is part of that wave, the 4 horsemen of Fight Island. What if it's destiny for all 4 of these guys to go down in history as champions, from Aspinall to Topuria to DDP, with it ending with Khamzat Chimaev? It just might be fate that Khamzat Chimaev goes out there and beats Dricus du Plessis and wins the title, whether it be by a finish or even a dominant decision. And even if Khamzat doesn't win every single round, he can afford to coast, which would be dangerous against du Plessis, but I could see Khamzat winning like the first 3 rounds comfortably, and then maybe he kind of fades in the 4th, but he doesn't fade to the point where it's like he's completely helpless, and it's going to be just that easy for du Plessis to take over. Like, the takedown threat is still going to be looming large, even if Khamzat slightly slows down. But du Plessis might be able to come back and land a few good shots, but Khamzat has a really good chin. And then 5th round, same story. Maybe du Plessis continues the 4th round success into the 5th round, but loses like 48-47. But we shall see what happens. I'm very excited for this fight. Oh, man. Like, the goosebumps I get for this matchup, it's just insane. I've not been this excited for a matchup, a title fight, since Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria in October 2024. Because that fight had stakes. That fight had a storyline. This fight has stakes and a storyline. Whoever wins this fight, I think a win over Dricus will be huge for Khamzat's career, but a win over Khamzat will be even bigger for du Plessis' career because of his strength of schedule. Beating Whitaker, beating Strickland twice, beating Adesanya, and then beating Khamzat, being the first guy to give Khamzat his first loss. That's a legendary run right there. But if Khamzat can win, he's beaten Burns, he's beaten Usman, Whitaker, and then he's ended the run of du Plessis. And this fight easily could have happened a long time ago, back when both guys were prospects in the middleweight division. But here they are 5 years later at the biggest stage of their careers, where DDP is the champion and finally Khamzat gets his opportunity. Will fate deny Khamzat of his chance to achieve UFC glory of becoming the champion? We will see, but usually in these circumstances, when there's a fighter who's been delayed on getting a title shot and they finally get it, they usually win. It took Merab forever to get a title shot. He won. It took Leon forever to get a title shot. He won. O'Malley didn't really have to go the extra mile the way some of these other guys did. But hey, he was in the UFC for 5 years. And even though he had Dana White privilege, when it was time to fight for that title, he did not fail. So it could be the same thing for Khamzat. But we're going to find out Saturday night. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.